So once again, welcome to PersonalSelling Weekly, and today we will focus on the no slides sales meeting and why that can actually create a lot of value for you and your customers. And you can say, wow, why do we bring up this topic? I think it's because I still meet too many salespeople out there working from the idea, if I could just have the perfect slideshow, then my conversion will go up dramatically. But I think actually it's not the solution. And today we will discuss why it's not and what you can do instead. Just to start out, I think the reason why a lot of salespeople default to the PowerPoint and why it doesn't really work is that, again, having a PowerPoint presentation gives this false sense of security. Because when you're doing your PowerPoint in a way, at least you have a sense that you can predict what will happen in the meeting because you are talking. But that doesn't mean that you are creating value in that meeting. I have this policy that if you talk more than 20 to 25% in the sales call, it's not totally optimal. You want to create meetings where the customer speaks much more than you do. Because again, as long as the customer is speaking, nothing wrong is being said. So said in a different way, the more you present stuff before you know what the customer truly wants to hear, the bigger risk you run that you say something which is wrong from the customer's perspective. And you cannot afford a lot of wrongs and still believe that the customer will stay engaged and also motivated to buy anything from you. So I think that's basically why I don't believe in PowerPoints as a sales tool. The advantage we see in having a true conversation with the customer instead of presenting is that it allows you to engage with the person. But it also allows you to help the customer get the sense that, wow, this is not just a presentation you're doing for the 5th, 10th time. It's actually something which is tailored for this specific customer. And that just tends to be much more persuasive than trying to push an idea. Also, when you have a conversation with the customer, it allows you to truly understand what they want, why they want it, how they want it, when they want it. And when you have that information, now you can start to share how you can help the customer get what they specifically want. So it just opens up for a space where you don't need to be as good in handling objections because you don't present things the customer don't want to hear in the first place. So, said in other words, the more you design your meetings so that they become interaction conversations, the more the customer share what they truly want. And when you understand what the customer want, and maybe they even have shared how they want it, the more you can share how you can help them get what they want the way they want it, the less they have to object to. And the less you end up fighting with your customers, and the more they will end up having the experience that you're actually helping them getting what they want. So how do satisfaction selling play into this? And I think it plays into this that our whole idea in satisfaction selling is that we don't believe that we can go in and present a solution. We don't believe that we off the gate can go in and challenge the customer to do something different. We need to first own the right to challenge and present. And we do that by truly understanding the customer's position first. And we do that by understanding where they are, where they want to go, how they want to get there. And when we have that information, then we can design and present a solution. So it's really in the backbone, in the backbone structure of satisfaction selling that we really encourage you to first listen, to really, really understand. Then you can challenge and present. And again, there's nothing wrong in presenting ideas when you know what kind of ideas is really relevant for the customer. I have this policy, never tell the customer anything before you know what they want to hear. If you want to guide a conversation or lead a customer meeting and you don't have the slides, you need to do it differently. And for me, again, I would say that the meeting always starts before the meeting starts. So I think the first thing you want to really master is to frame the meeting so that you and the customer actually are in the same meeting. And you can do that, before the meeting by sending some kind of agenda to the customer, or you can do that in the beginning of the meeting by how you open up the meeting and set a clear frame. So I think so that basically you have the same purpose for the same meeting. Then the second thing you can do is to understand how to ask high quality questions. And when we talk about high quality questions, it's really about how you can ask open questions, how you can ask open questions about what's working and what they truly want, how you can master taking them in time where you need them to be to really get the relevant information. So sometimes you need to ask open positive questions about the past. Sometimes you need to ask open positive questions about the present. And sometimes you need to ask open positive questions about their desired future. And then finally, if you have the skill set, it can also be really powerful to really tailor the question so it fits the personality of the person in front of you. If you master these 4 levels, I would say you cannot control the meeting, but in a way you can start to have a very fun dance with the customers, which will lead you to really understand what they want, so that you can decide is there a match between what they want and what we can do, which will allow you to really focus on the right customer projects. If you want an example, I have several. And again, given that we want to keep these weeklies short, I will come up with one specific example I had a few years back. It was a big accounting company that had been working on a new strategy for a year together with an agency. And then 3 weeks before they had to present this new strategy for their 250 partners, they realized that, wow, all this work would be wasted if they could not sell this idea to their fellow partners. And then they reached out to me because they heard that, wow, Henrik knows something about convincing and selling and being persuasive. So maybe we should get some help. And I still remember, I think it was Ken that reached out to me, and he said, wow, can you help us basically present and sell our new vision for the company so that our partners will buy into it? And I said, yes, how many days do you have? And then he said, well, maybe we could use 2 evenings. So already there, we were a little squeezed on time. But basically, I think what I realized when I showed up the first evening was that they expected me to help them develop a PowerPoint presentation they could use for this event. And I basically spent the first evening discussing with them, showing them why PowerPoint was not at all optimal. And then we spent the second evening basically discussing how they could present using stories, narrative techniques, how they could use the whole structure we use in the satisfaction selling method to really, in a way, bring the audience into the outcome of the outcome so they could experience the benefit of the new vision. And after the event, Ken called me back. I think it was 2 weeks after the event. And he said, Henrik, I could not have a presentation, but I limited it to 1 slide with 1 word. And then I put that slide up with the 1 word, and then I just sat, down in front of everyone. And then I had a 1-hour conversation with them about our new vision. And I have never done a better presentation in my life. Everyone was engaged, and it was interactive, and I think we just got total buy-in. Thank you very much for not allowing us to use PowerPoint. So I actually know it works. But again, it's not easy, because when you work with PowerPoint, in a way, it's a really, really nice help for you to remember everything you want to say. So if you want to work without PowerPoint, you need to be able to work at a very different level. So you need to know your material, because you need basically to be prepared for anything. I think this is what scares most people from going in naked without PowerPoint. But again, when you do, you get a very different response from the audience. I promise you that. So again here, you could ask yourself, but again, I have been using PowerPoint in all my meetings. So how do I get started with this? Because I cannot not have my presentation. And I understand. So maybe a first small step could be that you actually go in, you sit down, and you start out maybe saying, before we start this meeting today, could you just share a little about what have brought you to where you are today and where you would like to go next? So that you invite the customer to actually have just a short dialogue with you, before the presentation. And I think you will be surprised of how many meetings you will end up not needing the presentation anymore. Because when you're into this dialogue and you ask the customer these high quality questions, suddenly they start to talk, you start to give them input, and suddenly, in a way, you're in a much more creative dynamic, which will lead to much better meetings. So I think sometimes maybe don't go in with the ambition of not using your total presentation, but just take the first 10-15 minutes as a conversation. And even if you decide to use your presentation, you can now do it with much better quality, because now you have some of the customer's pointers, and maybe you can even know which slides to skip because the customer have already told you that that's not really their interest. Or maybe you can jump to slide number 28 because that's actually what the customer told you they want to hear more about. So instead of just using the presentation from slide 1 to 180, you can dive into the actual slides which is relevant for that specific customer. So I think that would be really where I would encourage you to start already now. And then, of course, you can take it step by step from there until you would be comfortable going in and just have a conversation with your customers. Once again, we have shared some ideas which you can actually go and apply already now. And I think you have a week to play with this before you get the next round of ideas.